I've keyed this into my calculator. From my calculator, I found that I have two rational zeros. Notice it's in x to the fourth, so I'm looking for 4 zeros. So I'm going to do synthetic first with the positive of 1. It doesn't matter if you do it with the 1 first or the 2. Put in all the coefficients. And now I'm going to start my division. I bring down, I multiply, I add the column, I multiply, I add the column, multiply, add the column, multiply. Now, I already knew I was going to get a remainder of 0 because I knew it was a 0 from my calculator. Now I have to put the variables back in. Remember, doing synthetic only brings it down 1 power. So this is x to the third, x squared, x, constant remainder. So now I have x to the third plus 3x squared minus 5x minus 10 equals 0. Now, if this could be factored by grouping, I could do that, but it can't. So I'm now going to do synthetic again with my other 0 that I got from the calculator. Because it wasn't a touch and turn, I can't use 1 again. I now have to use 2. So now I'm going to do synthetic with the 2. Put all of the new coefficients in. Because now this will bring it down to an x squared that I can do quadratic formula to get the other 2 rational zeros. So now bring down, multiply, add the column, multiply, add the column, multiply, add the column. Again, I knew I had a 0, so I knew I should be getting a remainder of 0. So now let's put in the variables. It's x squared plus 5x plus 5 equals 0. There are no factors of 5 that will give me 5, so I have to do quadratic formula. So now I'm going to get my other 2 zeros. My a value is 1, b is 5, c is 5. Let's plug it in. Opposite of b, plus or minus b squared minus 4ac, all under the radical, 2 times a. These are giving me my other 2 irrational zeros. So then negative 5 plus or minus 25 minus 20 over 2. X is equal to negative 5 plus or minus the square root of 5 over 2. I can't break down the 5. That's already simplified. So now that we found all our zeros, so you're going to have a blank line. It's going to say to list the zeros. So you're going to list x equals. You can leave it as plus minus if you wish, or you can pull it apart. You also have to list the ones we found from the calculator. Notice I have 4 zeros here because it was an x to the fourth. Then the next thing we're going to do is list the y-intercept. Remember, that's just the constant from the beginning. So if I go back up to the beginning, this is my y-intercept, the positive 10. So my y-intercept is going to be the order pair 0, 10. My x-intercepts are all the zeros that I just listed, but you have to list them as order pairs. So it's going to be 1, 0, 2, 0, and then negative 5. If you want to leave it like this, you can, 0, or pull it apart. So there'll be a blank line for you to fill in y-intercept, x-intercept, and the zeros. And then there's also going to be a line that's going to say additional points. So let's get these zeros on the graph, and then from there, we'll figure out where we need to find additional points in between the zeros that we graph. So let's go ahead and let me just add a graph here. I'm not even going to use boxes. It'll be easier without. Okay, so I had a 0 at 1 and 2. And then we also had these crazy decimals over here, which were the radicals. So I had one here in between like 1 and 2, and then 1, 2, 3, and then one in between 3 and 4, which this are these two. But again, I don't want you to just give me the decimal off the calculator. Everybody understand that? When you list it on the line, you're listed in radical form. Let me add in my y-intercept as well. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So here's my y-intercept way up here. Now, what you're going to add in now is your end behavior. It was a positive x to the 4th. So at this 0, it's going up and it's going up. I want an additional point in between these two zeros. So I could look at my calculator, hit the second and graph button, and when I do that, the order pair, say for when x equals -2, is going to be -12. So in my box of additional points, I'm going to say -2, -12. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12.
We're not going to find them ourselves?
No, you just look at your calculator. You hit second and graph. It is, if you know how to use your calculator. So then this will be the -212. -12. And then I want another one just to see how it's moving. So right now, I connect it here. I go up to the 0. Now what I need to do is, I could probably just go ahead and connect it to the y-intercept. And then down here. And then I want an additional point in between here. And again, you can change your table so it goes by 0.5. So I would look for an order pair of 1.5, comma. And then I'd look at my table, second graph. Remember, you hit the plus sign and you can change the increment and make it go by 0.5. So then my order pair for 1.5 is going to be -3.688. You hit the plus sign, so once you hit the table, the second graph, hit plus sign, and then down at the bottom, put in 0.5. And then hit enter.
So it's for the additional points. It doesn't matter if it's like a decimal, like a long decimal.
Right, it doesn't matter. So you're just getting it right from your calculator. So then now if I put this here, 1, 2, 3, so like somewhere halfway in between, so like right around here, and then it goes back up. So I want to know where to go, how far to go down and up, and you just get them from your calculator. It's all going to depend on how many waves you got going on here. You may have to find more additional points than just those. The more, the better. It'll be a better graph for you. So if you'd rather put in here -1, you could do that. You could have said it's -1, 6. And then over here, the 1.5. If you wanted to say what the order pair for 2 is. You're just copying it off your calculator. So I would put at least 4 points on here. Does that make sense? Even if you don't graph them. So this was my possible zeros. I saw on my calculator, once I did the trace feature, it was -0.3 repeating. So this tells me it's -1/3. Do not try to do synthetic with just -0.3. You will not get the correct answer. You have to do synthetic with the fraction. So I'm going to do synthetic with -1/3. Put in all the coefficients. So the 3, the 4, the 10, and the 3. I'm going to bring down the 3. -1/3 times +3 is -1. Add the column. Multiply again. -1, add the column, -3, remainder of 0. I already knew I was going to get a remainder of 0 because I got the -1/3 from my calculator. So now let's put back the variables. This is the x squared, the x, the constant, and the remainder. So it's 3x squared plus 3x plus 9 equals 0. I now need to, it's quadratic. I cannot factor it. I can factor GCF out. So let me do that first. I'm going to factor out a GCF of 3. So then I'm left with x squared plus x plus 3. And now I'm going to do quadratic formula because there are no factors of 3 that will give me 1. So my A value is 1, my B value is 1, and my C value is 3. So opposite of B, plus or minus B squared minus 4AC, all divided by 2 times A. Going to simplify what's under the radical. I get 1 minus 12 over 2. 1 minus 12, negative 11. And then when I simplify this, it's negative 1 plus or minus I square root of 11 over 2. So now, what you're going to fill in, list your zeros, which include the imaginaries. So negative 1 plus or minus I square root of 11 over 2, and the 1 that you did synthetic with. All right, so this is the first answer. And then it's also going to ask you to list the y-intercept. Remember, that's just the constant from the beginning. And the constant from the beginning was positive 3. So my y-intercept is 0, 3. Remember, you can get a y-intercept by plugging in x equals 0 as well. Then my x-intercept is only the negative 1/3. Do not list the imaginaries as an x-intercept. They're listed as a 0, but not an x-intercept. Additional points. Now, remember, let me go ahead and get this on the graph. So remember, we had it here. Let's say this is negative 1. So maybe about negative 1/3, maybe about here. And then my y-intercept, 1, 2, 3. So then for my additional points, just give me something that's over here and something over here. So in this case, if you want to list, let's stick with 4. So let's figure out what negative 1 is from the second graph. So negative 1 is the ordered pair negative 6. And then let's say we just did negative 2, just to list it. It's negative 25. And then I'm going to list positive 1 and 20 and positive 2 and 63, just to list them. So our graph should look something like this. And then a 2. And then what you could do is negative 1, negative 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And it's like here. And then negative 2 and negative 25, something way down here.
How many additional points do you need?
I want 4. Give me at least 4. That way you don't mess up and give me too few. Technically, on this one, you could have given me just 2. Give me 1 negative, 1 positive, but you're just copying it from your calculator. So just, I would give me more and be safe. Okay, so then here, it would go up and off way up there.